Welcome back, everybody, to the show. I hope you're doing absolutely wonderful. If you're watching live, thank you for joining live. If you're watching later, thank you for that as well. Let's start with some insane Epstein bombshells. I have to be honest, I think I doubted that members of the House of Representatives would be able to, through their oversight powers, actually force some more transparency. And they're doing it. And that's why it feels like every day we have new revelations, because they're actually fighting. Ro Khanna, Thomas Massie, and a lot of others are actually fighting to expose the cover-up. And that's what we've been seeing. And because of it, more and more is coming out. Let's start with this reporting.
Joining me now is Julie K. Brown, award-winning investigative reporter for the Miami Herald, whose work was instrumental in exposing the extent of Jeffrey Epstein's crime. She's also the author of Perversion of Justice, the Jeffrey Epstein Story. Tonight, Julie, you have new reporting for the Miami Herald in a piece titled "Trump Told Palm Beach Police Chief Everyone Knew About Epstein, Maxwell Was Evil." So, Julie, your new reporting in the Herald tonight is about comments then citizen Trump allegedly made to the Palm Beach police some 20 years ago about Epstein and Maxwell. Can you just walk us through it?
Yes. To put this in context, this was in July of 2006, and it was right around the time that Epstein was arrested and that there were stories in the media about him being accused of having sex or sexually abusing minors at his mansion. And it was right after that story broke in Palm Beach that Trump called the Palm Beach police chief, who he knew well because, Trump knew a lot of people in Palm Beach, including the chief, and made this comment to the effect that, everyone knew. First, he wanted to thank the police for finally stopping him because, again, Epstein was finally arrested at this time, and then said everybody knew. And he also goes on to describe to tell the police to really take a good look at Maxwell, because she was sort of the quote unquote operative and she was evil. And he also mentioned that he had been in some kind of a space with Epstein and a bunch of teenage girls. It bothered him, and he said, I got the hell out of there.
Just the quickest pause to request that you click the subscribe button, the simplest, easiest, freest way, completely free, to support the work that we do. Right below the video, click that subscribe button. Back to the video.
So this is in the context of Trump finding out that Epstein is really being scrutinized now for what he was doing with underage girls, and coming to the Palm Beach police chief and saying, well, thank you, everybody knew he was doing this. So it sort of contradicts some of the statements that Trump has made in the past, saying that he really didn't know anything about what Epstein was doing with underage girls.
So we're going to get to, in a second here, the reaction from MAGA, which is, boom, this is it. Trump's the hero in this story. But let's be clear here. As Julie K. Brown emphasized, this is again exposing a lie that Trump told so many times, which was, I had no idea. Oh, it was shock to me. But it wasn't that exposing these documents, which is what she's reporting on, that there was a tip from Trump before anyone knew about this, and he helped to facilitate the investigation. That's not what this is. The FBI document that notes this phone call that Trump had with the police chief, where he said, oh my gosh, thank you so much for looking into Epstein. And by the way, look into Maxwell. And hey, listen, I mean, you might hear that I was in a room with them I was so uncomfortable. So really, thank you.
I love minors.
That is after it was already public, either the investigation or the arrest, and what Epstein was being accused of back in 2006, leading to the 2008 conviction in that sweetheart deal. And then just think about the timeline here, because we know Trump has lied about his timeline and when he cut off, or if he ever did cut off Epstein. We know that Trump's kids and all of Trump's friends were still associating with Epstein. But to MAGA, this is the smoking gun that proves Trump was in the right. The fact that he called a buddy of his, a law enforcement figure, to say, I'm so glad you're looking into this. And by the way, I was grossed out with it, but we all knew. We didn't tell you before, but we all knew. Oh, now that you're already going to arrest him? Whew, I'm glad. Because I knew. Didn't tell you, but I knew. Oh, and later, he hires the guy to be his labor secretary, Alex Acosta, who struck that sweetheart deal with Epstein to allow him to get away with minimum accountability. Trump hired him to be his labor secretary, knowing about that. Oh, after that phone call that's supposed to be proof of Trump being the hero in this story, Trump said this, well after that phone call took place.
Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison, and a lot of people want to know if she's going to turn in powerful people. And I know you've talked in the past about Prince Andrew, and you've criticized Bill Clinton's behavior. I'm wondering, do you feel that she's going to turn in powerful men? How do you see that working out?
I don't know. I haven't really been following it too much. I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach. But I wish her well, whatever it is. I don't know the situation with Prince Andrew. Just don't know.
I don't know anything about this. This is a guy I bumped into at one party. Oh, you say there's 100 photos? Trust me, it was all, we just kept doing different outfit changes. It was the same one event that we happened to bump into each other. Barely knew the guy, and I have no idea the crimes he was engaging in. And I wish his co-conspirator well. What is this, 2019, 2020? But we're supposed to believe he was pushing for justice way back in 2006 when he's on the phone with the police chief. Pardon me, which is what Ghislaine Maxwell's saying to Trump. Literally, we'll get to that in a second. But no, pardon me for not being very impressed with Epstein's bestie calling the police chief to say, hey, I'm on your side. Brother, me and you. It's me and you versus him, definitely. And I was in a room with a bunch of children. He might bring that up to you. I left immediately. Like within 6 hours, I left. So let me play a little bit more of this report and I'll show you some of those reactions. Again, thank you all so much for joining the show. As always, I'll read super chats and comments and memberships, people getting new memberships by clicking the join button below, either in between segments or at the end of the show. So stick around for that.
Now, have you gotten comment from the White House on this? Because we asked the administration for comment. We got a DOJ official told us, quote, we're not aware of any corroborating evidence that the president contacted law enforcement 20 years ago.
Well, they could look in their Epstein files because this is a FBI document that's contained in the files, which we've attached to the story. And also I sent to them. They sent me the same statement. So, I don't know what they mean by corroborating, but this is a document that is clearly in the files that, as I said, I sent to them.
It's remarkable because in your article, it really goes into detail about Palm Beach police investigating, seeing schoolgirls going into, apparently schoolgirls, girls with braces and backpacks going into Epstein's mansion, them developing a case, taking it to prosecutors, and prosecutors not pursuing it.
That's right. This was part of my original investigation back in 2018, where we realized that Palm Beach police had made a very thorough investigation, had dozens of victims that they had interviewed, and they wanted to prosecute him for a state crime, for sexual assault or crimes involving sex with minors. And the state attorney at the time backed down and said he didn't want to charge him with something so serious. In fact, he was going to just charge Epstein with solicitation. The police chief balked at that and said, there is no way you're just going to charge him with a solicitation charge. And eventually the police chief, Michael Ryder, who was a true behind-the-scenes hero in this story, went over the state attorney's head and took the case to the FBI.
And according to your reporting, Epstein hired investigators to basically follow the police and go through and
it just goes on and on. Just so many insane revelations. So I'll show you a couple different reactions to that before getting to a lot more, you know, Batya is going to jump in here and say, see, this is my hero. She said, something tells me the Democrats and their media are about to take President Trump's advice and move on from the Epstein story. No, absolutely not. And if you're saying that you really do believe, which I do, that Trump knew about Epstein's crimes like he supposedly stated to the police chief in 2006, then please explain all of his behavior since then, please, for me. Josiah responded by saying, so this guy says Trump admitted to him on the phone that he knew what Epstein was up to, and you think this makes us more likely to drop it? Again, there's something so notable about the timeline there, too. Yes, the associations. Yes, all that we've learned in the files. But then also that Trump only chose to call, from what we know as of now, after this investigation was made public. Or our man, Gunther Eagleman. I think, do we have a Gunther soundbite? I think
Gunther
we do.
Eagleman.
Oh. Well, that was kind of what I already did. I was just doubling up. But he said, breaking files just confirmed President Trump was one of the very first to blow the whistle on Jeffrey Epstein. Trump was one of the first people to call. He flagged Ghislaine Maxwell specifically, called her evil, and told investigators to focus on her. And after, way later, said, I wish her well. Did you add that part, Gunther? No, you didn't. Now, a more reasonable take is this one, which is Brian Allen saying, Julie K. Brown drops a bombshell from the Epstein files, lays out what I just broke down for you and said, let that sink in. Trump admitted he knew about Epstein's abuse of underage girls years before he claimed to cut ties. This is in an FBI interview on the record in DOJ files. No more excuses. But if you have a MAGA partisan lens on, it is an exoneration, a complete and total exoneration. Here is Jamie Raskin. One thing we're talking about a lot in today's show is that members of the House of Representatives were allowed to see the unredacted file. So they were able to search around and look for different things, and that exposed some redactions that were protecting what were identified as co-conspirators, which Kash Patel told us there weren't any of those. But then there's documents, you remove the redactions and you learn there are, which House members were able to do. But one of the takes from Raskin after seeing the unredacted files was this.
What had taken place during that 2009 period. It was during the period of the 2009 investigation. And Epstein's lawyers synopsized and quoted Trump as saying that that Jeffrey Epstein was not a member of his club at Mar-a-Lago, but he was a guest at Mar-a-Lago, and he had never been asked to leave. And that was redacted for some indeterminate, inscrutable reason. I know it seems to be at odds with some things that President Trump has been saying recently about how he had kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of his club or asked him to leave, and this was...
Now, the other thing is, it really calls into question and baffles the mind if you take the MAGA assumption, which is this call with the police chief was not in Trump's own self-interest. It was not to make them... You know how... Little thought here we talked about before the show. You know how they say that often perpetrators will try to stay really close to an investigation? And I remember this was fictional, but in some crime show, there was an arsonist, and they started reviewing photos from the crime scene after when police investigators would be there. And you would notice in the background of all of these different photos after a house burnt down that as the police were investigating in the distance, the ultimate arsonist would be watching and staying really close to the investigation. Maybe if you don't think it's that in Trump's case, which of course MAGA doesn't, and you assume that premise, then you go, he had admitted privately to someone that we all knew, he said, what Epstein was doing. Number one, of course you go, you knew and you were friends with him? Now maybe MAGA would go, no, once he found out, then he stopped being friends, but there's a lot of contradictory evidence to that. And the way he said it wasn't like, I just found out about this too. It was, oh yeah, we all knew about that. Ugh, and Ghislaine's evil. So then if that's the case, but you believe it's sort of heroic how he would mention that after it was already clear what was going on, then I'm very curious how you square the events that followed that. Like, what's all the cover up about then? What are all the lies about him knowing nothing about this? As I said, what are the lies about when he cut off Epstein about? Why wouldn't he come out and have told that story? Guys, I am the hero who exposed this. He had decades to do it. Why wouldn't he come out and expose that and tell his story? Another member of Congress.
Finding out.
What were those?
One was related to whether or not Trump, had ever kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago, as he claimed.
What'd you find?
It's not true.
It's a lie.
It's a lie.
Yes, I think we're starting to see that become crystal clear. Now, the other element of this is that, of course, as we reported on yesterday, Ghislaine Maxwell sat for a House hearing, a testimony, and just pleaded the fifth over and over and over again. She's saying, I will exonerate Trump and Bill Clinton if you will give me a pardon, or if you'll give me some form of clemency. Trump, commute my sentence, pardon me, give me some legal relief, and I'll tell everyone you were the best boy. You were a gentleman. Here it is. Ghislaine Maxwell refuses to testify unless Trump grants clemency. Now, you might be thinking that I'm assuming she's sort of the subtext is, hey, I can clear your name if you'll give me some sort of legal relief. No. Very clear. Only she can provide the complete account from her lawyer. Some may not like what they hear, but the truth matters. For example, both President Trump and President Clinton are innocent of any wrongdoing. Ms. Maxwell alone can explain why, and the public is entitled to that explanation. If she gets a pardon, then she can clear their names. That's her offer. But remember, just in case you're thinking, you got the phone call, you got Ghislaine Maxwell saying I can clear everyone of all wrongdoing. Which, by the way, the funny thing is that they say, we already have all these allegations in the documents. And then you already have, as I've said before, to me, a smoking gun of character, if not a crime, which is the choice after it was clear who Epstein was. Now, apparently, by Trump's own admission, to associate with the guy. To not speak out against him. That by itself is something I judge very hard. But also, if Ghislaine Maxwell's word, let's say that they made that deal, which would be horrific and a crazy tragedy of justice, where they commute her sentence or something, and then she comes out and she says, Trump was great, which is what she said in the Todd Blanche interview. Just remember that that's also what she says about herself and Epstein. You remember this footage?
17 in Florida. So as far as I'm aware, a professional masseuse showed up for a massage. There is nothing inappropriate or incorrect about that. And your mischaracterization of it, I think, is unfortunate.
How many teenagers did he have that were professional masseuses that worked in his home?
Check the Foreman Foundation.
How many?
First of all, I'm not aware of teenagers who worked in his home.
Did Jeffrey Epstein have a scheme to recruit underage girls to use them for purposes of sexual massages?
Check the Foreman Foundation.
Okay, I'll speak in, please.
Sure. Did Jeffrey Epstein have a scheme to recruit underage girls to use them for sexual massages?
Check the Foreman Foundation.
Can you ask it a different way?
Did Jeffrey Epstein have a scheme to recruit underage girls for sexual massages?
Objective Foreman Foundation.
If you know.
So, I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. What? Did they do what? This is the first I'm hearing of it. What? Sexual abuse, huh? No, not us. Not at all. We just found ourselves having really good friendships with high school girls. How's that? That's her defense. I don't even know what you're talking about, huh? And she says that she was mistreated, wrongfully convicted. So that gives you a sense of the validity of her word. But here's some CNN analysis on the offer of a pardon, of clemency in exchange for her testimony.
How are you reading that in contrast to this push from her attorney, essentially saying that she would clear President Trump, former President Clinton, as long as she gets clemency or pardon?
It's kind of a reminder of how awful the pardon power is in our world right now, because the framers drafted it, did not put any guardrails on it, and for the last 240 years or however long, nothing's been done to restrain it. Presidents have abused the pardon power for a long time, and quite frankly, if President Trump wants to pardon her to clear his name and clear Bill Clinton's, he's allowed to, because that's how vast the pardon power is in the Constitution. It's sickening how it all works. How folks can go to the White House and ask for a pardon and ultimately get one. And President Trump's been quite aggressive in giving out pardons. Yeah. That's sort of how the game's played here in the country. And frankly, it falls to Congress to limit that extra. Yeah, make some change. Yeah.
It is sickening. And it's not, to the point that the analyst made, it's not even like any other administration where you go, well, of course they're not going to do something as sick as that. Because we've seen their willingness, Trump's willingness, to use his pardon power for his own interests. In many cases, his own enrichment, or if anyone can do him a favor. I mean, look at this. You remember the whole Binance debacle? Trump pardoning the Binance founder? And we knew that Binance was doing stuff with Trump's World Liberty Financial that was making him money. Well, now we have more specifics. Forbes reports Binance, whose founder was pardoned, now holds 87% of Trump's stablecoin. What? But Hunter Biden got something. I'm not going to say that. Biden. Binance holds about 87% of USD1, the stablecoin issued by a Trump family crypto venture. A greater concentration than any other major stablecoin has at a single exchange, underscoring the depth of the financial relationship between Binance, whose founder Trump pardoned in October, and World Liberty Financial was already added an estimated $1 billion to Trump's net worth. But Trump didn't know anything about the Binance founder. That was what he said. Well, I guess that's as reasonable as him saying he knew nothing about Epstein's crimes. Crystal Ball says insane corruption. Chris Murphy says he was pardoned for serious crimes, facilitating the financing of terrorists and sex predators because he agreed to put millions in Trump's pocket. Naked corruption out in the open for all to see. You know what confuses me? I was thinking about this. You remember, if you've watched the show for a while, you got to remember the story after story after story that we did about the Republican hearings investigating Biden's association with Hunter Biden's business ventures, and could there be any corrupt connection, and was this an example of Hunter benefiting from his name, and was any of it actually government policies to benefit Hunter's blah, 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 okay? And it felt like if they could prove that, because this is true, if they could prove that Hunter went and made the Biden family money, and then Joe Biden as vice president did something to benefit the people who made the Biden family money, that would harm Biden's presidency, that would cause people to want to impeach him, that his legacy would be tarnished. So the response from the Biden White House was to go, here's how we believe you're misconstruing this. Here is how we can debunk what you're saying. And then I would have a reaction as well, deciphering fact from fiction, etc. Because the situation where you just go, you know what, yeah, everything you're saying is true, even though it wasn't. But if it was true, would mean bad. And I would be denouncing Biden if he had done those things. So then it's so weird, follow me here, to be in a world where we just had that, but it's like there's no controversy around it because even it being exposed doesn't mean anything. So it was like, if you could expose corruption about Biden, that would be bad and there would be consequences for him. even in the court of public opinion. But here, the expose is not a scandal because the Trump fans in the Trump White House go, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, they kind of deny it here and there, but everyone knows, and then no one cares. Or I do a debate with Michael Knowles, and he's like, I don't know, well, something about international business. Who cares? After pretending like they cared about what were wildly distorted stories with the Biden. So is it that if you create a level of principleless loyalty to the leader and they accept the scandal, then it's not a scandal? Like, what is it that causes this not to be more of a story? That people just can just funnel him money, he'll do them favors. So that's a thought, but the point on that, of course, is that we should not put it past him to do something insane with his pardon power to benefit himself. Even, I think, when it comes to Ghislaine Maxwell.